Detroit at Houston. So look, this line was at 4 when we spoke on Sunday night. It's now at 3.5. Houston is plus 3.5. Shortly after we spoke, it got up to 4.5, and the wise guys took a bite back. It actually got down to 3 a little bit, and bounced up this morning. So we've been looking to fade this Lions team, and we thought it might have been last week going outdoors for the first time. Jared Goff a little banged up, Jordan Love coming back, Matt LaFleur, brilliant against the spread, great scheming all year. And I feel like the one reason we've been betting this Lions team is because what they're good at is something that shows up every week. And that is just being physical on the offensive line, right? Their run blocking is superior to every element of the Texans' rush defense. Please tell me why we don't want to take the Lions, or do we?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because it's just they're trying to suck us in again and they want us to take Houston, and I'm not going to fall for it. I can't find the reason to back Houston other than the number. Like the number is the only reason I would back them was it's so telling that is this a trap? Are we walking into a trap, or is Goff finally going to have a really bad game, right? Because he has not had a bad game since Tampa, and we were on that game. We were on the Lions against the Tampa, and we both watched it. They were, 1 for 7 in the red zone on scoring touchdowns in that game. Like, total fluke. The fourth downs weren't working. We saw how bad it could be. Last week, as much praise as we gave them, that was, a bad game, right? And by Detroit standard, that was a bad game. They scored only 17 points on offense. Without that pick six, that looks like a very different game. It's not as stretched out as it looks. But that's the respect I want to give this Detroit team that shows how they're a complete team, that even when the offense wasn't totally on, their defense was, and when they needed him to be. So this feels like two teams that, if this was week 1, all over Houston in this line. But with all Houston's injuries and the way Detroit's playing, what is this number? Bizarre number. Like, to me, this was like, okay, this will be 6, and me and Chad will bet 6 on Houston. That's when there'd be value. Now it's down to, I saw 3 at a couple of books, Chad. I don't know. Yeah. And like, I hammered Detroit when it popped on 3. And I was hoping it'd be today for the 3, because that was going to be my Simon Says pick. It's back up to 3.5, and it's like, what am I missing? This is another game where maybe I'm missing something on this number, and I'm too high now on this Detroit team. But Houston's wide receivers are banged up, and their best D end is banged up. He's day to day. They're not even sure if he's going to play this week. So, yes, I am taking the minus 3.5, and I'll take the 3. I think this is a total head fake by the professionals, and they're just moving the number to get a better number on this Detroit team.
That's interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think that if you look at it from a matchup point of view, the Texans pass rush is top 3 in the league this year. Sack rate, QB pressures, pressure rate. And the Lions offensive line as a pass blocking team is truly excellent. It's more like top 10, not top 3. So there is a slight edge if Will Anderson is playing. Here's the other thing that maybe gives me a little bit of pause. Can the Lions defense stop Joe Mixon? If we know that CJ Stroud has struggled this year, and he struggled against like pressure, which the Lions might be able to bring, he just hasn't been as good. His obviously missing Nico Collins and now Stephon Diggs just hasn't been sort of the same clutch guy.
Yeah.
The Lions defense doesn't give up a lot of rushing yards per game, but to me, it's similar to the Titans. It's like a red herring. They give up a lot of individual rushing plays. Their yards per attempt is really high. Their expected points allowed is really high. Their yards over expectations on individual rushing plays is really high. That's kind of what worries me, is if you look at the Texans knowing they can run the ball and having to run the ball, will the Lions be effective in stopping that?
Yeah, Houston's a really good team. They're obviously the best team in their division for a reason, and all their games this season have always been close. Even last week, I mean, they somehow covered all. If you bet the teasers, they covered it for you, Houston. Like, they found a way to keep it down back to a 1-score game. They've been incredible this season at doing that. So that's a hesitation, right? Like, this Houston team knows how to pull teams down in the mud and keep it scrappy and keep it a 1-possession game. And, we backed them against Buffalo. They got the cover for us on a last-second field goal. We bet them against Green Bay. Same thing, right? Green Bay won on a last-second field goal. Would me and you sitting here Sunday night be shocked Detroit wins on a last-second field goal and we don't cover this number? No, because that's what the books, that's what they're doing here, hanging this number. That's what they're saying is going to happen. They're like, okay, come in heavy on Detroit here. They're going to lose by a field goal, and we're finally going to get all this money back we've been losing on Detroit, because I still can't believe they covered last week. Like, that really was the week. But this team they're a model breaker. So, yeah, that's my hesitation here, is just this Houston team's been great at keeping games close, even when they're overmatched this season.